The moment the waiter called us a couple, I almost corrected him. I had the words ready, "Oh, no, we're just best friends," but before I could say them, Nora looked at me, smiled in a way I had never seen before, and quietly said, "Don't correct him." I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. And somehow, those 4 words turned an ordinary Saturday afternoon at a little neighborhood diner into the moment that forced me to face a truth I had been avoiding for years. Because sometimes the person standing closest to your heart is the very person you're most afraid to love. Nora and I had been best friends for almost 7 years. We met during our first year of college after she accidentally spilled coffee on my notebook 5 minutes before an important exam. Instead of panicking, she laughed, apologized, and spent the next hour helping me rewrite everything I had lost. Somehow, that disaster became the beginning of a friendship that survived graduation, terrible jobs, failed relationships, birthdays, family problems, and all the strange seasons of adulthood. She knew when I was pretending to be okay. I knew when she needed company but was too proud to ask for it. We had a kind of closeness that other people constantly misunderstood. Friends would tease us about dating. Strangers sometimes assumed we were together. Every time it happened, we laughed and corrected them. At least, I always did. The problem was that somewhere along the way, my feelings had quietly changed. I just never admitted it. I told myself I loved Nora because she was my best friend. I told myself that the comfort I felt around her was normal. I told myself that the jealousy I experienced whenever another guy made her laugh was just me being protective. I even convinced myself that the nervous feeling in my chest whenever she leaned against my shoulder was nothing more than familiarity. The truth was much simpler and much scarier. I was in love with her, and I was terrified that saying it out loud would destroy the friendship that meant more to me than anything else. That Saturday, Nora had called me because she was having a difficult week. Her mother had been going through a stressful time, her work was overwhelming, and she admitted that she felt like life was moving forward without waiting for her. I knew exactly what she needed, so I picked her up and drove us to an old diner on the edge of town. It was the kind of place with red booths, huge windows, handwritten menus, and the smell of pancakes and coffee filling every corner. Sunlight poured through the glass, making everything feel warmer than it really was. Nora slid into the booth across from me, tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, and smiled. For the first time that week, she looked peaceful. We were laughing about something stupid when the waiter came over. He glanced at both of us, smiled, and said he'd give us a few minutes to decide what the happy couple wanted. My heart stopped for half a second. I immediately opened my mouth to correct him, but Nora reached across the table and lightly touched my wrist. She looked straight into my eyes and said, "Don't correct him." Her smile was soft, almost nervous. The waiter walked away, completely unaware that he had just changed the atmosphere at our table. I stared at Nora, waiting for her to laugh and admit she was messing with me. Instead, she picked up the menu and pretended to read it. I asked her what that was about, and she simply shrugged before saying that maybe it was nice for someone to think we belonged together. I felt my heartbeat become painfully loud. I wanted to ask what she meant, but fear stopped me. Instead, I made a joke. She smiled, but the smile didn't quite reach her eyes. For the next hour, something between us felt different. Every small thing suddenly carried meaning. When she reached across the table to steal a fry from my plate, I noticed how close her hand was to mine. When she laughed, I wondered whether I had been taking that sound for granted. When she told me she couldn't imagine her life without me, I wanted to tell her that I couldn't imagine mine without her either, but I wanted to say it differently. I wanted to tell her that she wasn't just part of my life. She was the person I had been quietly building my life around. Then, just when I thought I might finally say something, her phone rang. I watched her expression change when she saw the name on the screen. It was someone she had been seeing casually from work. She stepped away to answer, and I suddenly felt like an idiot for believing that one sentence from a waiter could mean anything. I reminded myself that Nora was free to love whoever she wanted. I had no right to expect anything from her because I had never been brave enough to tell her how I felt. When she returned, she noticed something had changed in me. She asked if I was okay, and I said yes. It was the same lie I had told her hundreds of times, but this time she didn't accept it. She looked at me for a long moment and said she hated when I did that. She said I was always there when she needed someone, but whenever something hurt me, I disappeared behind jokes and silence. I didn't know what to say because she was right. Outside the diner, the afternoon had become golden. Cars moved slowly along the street, and a cool breeze carried the smell of rain from somewhere in the distance. We stood beside my car, neither of us ready to leave. Finally, Nora looked at me and admitted that she had been trying to tell me something for months. She said every time someone called us a couple, she secretly wished I wouldn't correct them. She said she had watched me date other women and smiled when I was happy, even when it hurt. She said she had been afraid that telling me the truth would cost her the one person she trusted most. I could barely breathe. All those years of fear suddenly seemed ridiculous. We had both been protecting the same friendship from feelings that had already transformed it. We had both been waiting for the other person to risk everything first. So I finally told her the truth. I told her I had fallen in love with her somewhere between late-night conversations, terrible movies, emergency coffee runs, and the countless moments when she made an ordinary day feel worth remembering. I told her I was terrified, not because I didn't know what I wanted, but because I knew exactly what I wanted and couldn't bear the thought of losing her. Nora's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled. She stepped closer and said that maybe the waiter had done us a favor. Then she reached for my hand, the same way she had inside the diner, except this time neither of us pretended it meant nothing. We stood there holding hands while the first drops of rain began falling around us. And for once, I didn't try to hide what I felt. Months later, we returned to that same diner. We sat in the same booth, only this time there was no awkwardness, no pretending, and no fear. The same waiter recognized us and smiled before asking what the happy couple would like. Nora looked at me and laughed. I smiled back and told him we were ready to order. As she squeezed my hand beneath the table, I realized something I wished I had understood years earlier. Sometimes love doesn't arrive like a lightning strike. Sometimes it grows quietly inside a friendship, hidden in ordinary moments, waiting for two people to become brave enough to recognize it. If this story touched your heart, tell me in the comments, would you ever risk a lifelong friendship for the chance at true love? And if you enjoy emotional love stories with unexpected twists, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Because sometimes, the person you've been searching for isn't someone new at all. Sometimes, they've been sitting beside you all along.